Okay, everyone. This is good stuff here. I had a question, and plus we can go over Google too, since that's one of our plays and focus right now. I had a question, and they pop up right in the middle of recording. That's cool. About levels when it comes to getting in and getting out. So there's a couple factors that I take in consideration. Let me get that back out because that'll come back in here in just a moment. But the overall, I'm on the daily on Google. I'll do my daily TNA on this as well. So you see we're in a bullish megaphone here. Price has come up to this point and retested several times, so it's trending. And this is a good example of how to draw your trend lines. Trend lines, you need 2 points to make it work. Originally down here, this would have been your second, but now we're way up here. When we connect the dots between here and here on this one right up here, I can zoom in a little. Now we had our 2 points, and then you can see price came back, boom, tested again, came back again, tested again, dropped back to this level here. This was why I was picking this level, because it has become a key level. As you can see, prices came down and bounced several times. Now it doesn't have to touch. Obviously this candle, came up, but it started up here, but it's still, that's the zone. I don't see any real supply and demand zones yet, is because we really don't have any since we're in some newer territory and we've only been up here for a couple weeks now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, about 2.5 weeks we've been sitting up here. So I'm looking for Google to jump back and blow through like it tried right here. Obviously there was a lot of sell orders, big institutions, so boom, we got our sell orders. I am thinking we are done selling. That's why I like this level. You can see I didn't change my lines as we peaked it, but let's get to realistically here. So my next spot that we could drop to would be, throw it in down here, is 375. That's my breaking point on this trade right now. Possibility would come and fill this gap that is showing up on the daily, so that gap is significant, but I don't think that gap's ready to be touched yet. So, and also I mentioned I don't see any real supply and demand zones up here on the daily. That doesn't mean they're not there, but you have to remember, if you trade using supply and demand zones, which can be like levels, they're almost the same, but not. The bigger the time frame, the more the supply and demand zone lasts. The smaller the time frame, the quicker it can be validated and taken out of context or out of play. I should say context. All right, so with that being said, let's jump down. I'll run into the 4-hour. Oh, hold on, wait. I didn't do my zone, my level, excuse me, not my levels, my averages. Got to check the averages. So something else I go by too, not just my 375, but let's start with the 20 EMA. Everybody knows who follows me, I prefer my EMAs. They are exponential. They move with price. SMAs move with a daily average of trading. SMAs are still valid, but I prefer the EMAs over the SMAs. However, I do use the SMAs only typically on the daily. I do use smaller SMAs on smaller time frames, but very rarely. With that being said, 20 EMA. We're tapping the 20 EMA. So will we bounce on Tuesday, or will we drop below? Our next is my 50, which I'm not worried about that. I mean, as you can see where the 50 is, where our bottom of our gap is, levels and averages matter. You've got to pay attention to them. Once again, averages are magnets. Price will eventually return to and either stay below or stay above, as you can see down here. All right, next up is the 100, and then the 200. And obviously, I'm not too concerned. So I'm watching to see what price will do on Tuesday with the 20 on the daily. And now I do use the 20 on a lower time frame. Let's drop down to the 40 here, 44 hour. And as you can see now, you could say that we do have a supply and demand zone here. You can see why I have that 375 marked here. Our next up would be 362. You can start getting more levels which are still significant on lower time frames, but not as significant as your bigger time frames. The bigger the level, the distinct level on a bigger time frame is more significant than a distinct level on a lower time frame. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so 4 hour, I don't usually look at averages at this point. I'm just kind of looking to see what kind of pattern we are in. And you can see we came, consolidated, jumped backed up. Uh, and as you can see, these are the more points we tried to break. Didn't work and kept retesting, came back down, retested again, came back up, retested again, tried to break one more time, and eventually, over time, it's going to go one way or the other. It's either going to finally break through or drop back and break these levels and fall back even further. Here's your gap. It's not showing up on the 4 hour, so not too concerned about it, but still significant because it is on the daily. All right, moving on. Now I drop down to the 1 hour. Once again, not too much changed really from there. You just get a little more noise and a little more sense on how price acted. I'm going to start looking at, here's a trend here on the 1 hour. You can have trends within trends, and it's following down this one. Okay, I've got my trend up here. Sorry to pause for a second there. Trend up, so we do have this trend we're watching. I'm going to take this rectangle back out here. I like to keep it simple. I don't like to have a lot of things on my chart. I just like to flash them when I need them. I always believe in the KISS, keep it simple, stupid. That's me. Try to at least. Okay, so anyway, like I said, you could have. There are small supply and demand zones all through here, and once they get tapped on these smaller time frames, they're gone. They don't last very long. So anyway, with that being said, so the question was, how do I play my levels? I'm going to read it here real quick to myself to make sure I cover the question. Hold support. Okay, so yeah, this is where learning to read the candles and what they mean. Let me drop down to 15. When price breaks a level that you're looking at, this is where your averages come in. I typically don't do the 20. So we're right just below on that. But let's look at the 9. And then here's the 10 to 15 SMAs. So we're below the averages, it's below. So that's one of my right there. And then my next, what you could call security, would be this 374, 375 level. Now, how it broke that level, and we tapped down here a couple times, which I like. That says that price, not that one. Price is holding. They don't want it to let it go. So this is learning candle structure and what kind of candles. Candles with wicks and good sized bodies are very strong, if you will. More body, obviously. Less wick is the best. These are weak, so I'm not too worried about it. But I will be watching. We hit that 375, and that will be my cutoff point. But other than that, that's pretty much how you do it. It's just learning how to read the candles and the wicks and seeing where it's at. If there wasn't still good volume on this, then I would be, I think it's not showing. Oh, wait, that's extended hours. Let me get the volume in there. Yeah, 13 million on Friday alone, so it still has decent volume compared to a firm. So I'm still in my wheelhouse here. Make sure I answer this question. Yeah, so this is where stop losses too is in regards to your question. Yeah, I mean, stick to your rules too. If you can't or don't want to break your rules and try and hold, because you can always get back in. So yeah, if you have rules and you've gotten out already based on this, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in it. You're just trying to protect your capital. Um, and also too, you got to look at the reaction. I mean, it didn't go very far below that before it tapped and tried again. So that's another indicator. I just want to make sure I'm answering the question here. Sorry. Um, yeah, I believe that should answer your question. I hope. Like I said, you cut, which is good, especially on a 2K trade. You're following your rules. That's the biggest thing. Be smart. I think that pretty much covers it. So this will see once again we got wicks like that. It tapped the same level again, and it's trying to that's more bullish of a red candle than it is bearish. So just something to keep in mind. And I think that covers it. Hope that helps.